Hello, everyone. This is not my first video actually on YouTube. In fact, I have done YouTube videos in the past, but I decided to kind of get into something different. So, to all my fellow subscribers, um, sorry that this video is totally different than I've ever done in the past. So, but it's I hope it's good. I hope it's juicy for everyone who's subscribed to me and has been a follower of me for a couple of years. And the rest that are new to this channel, obviously you're here because of a reason of the topic that I'm about to discuss, which is very interesting. Um, but anyways, I wanted to kind of get into this whole topic about the multi-level marketing like schemes and or as also known as pyramid schemes and all that kind of stuff. And I developed this kind of I wouldn't say, well, I guess passion, but I don't know how this passion is gonna go, or how long I'm gonna be talking about this. I kind of want to break it up into a couple of videos, a couple series. But I got this inspiration from a YouTube channel. They go under, it's a couple, it's a young couple, and they go under the name of Melody, Zay, and Seven, I believe. And they're a phenomenal couple. I definitely fell in love with their channel. I love how raw and just straight to the point they are, and just the way they tell their story is just it's great. It's funny, and I'm funny in the sense of like what they say and how they say it, not so much of what they've gone through. But I think that's what is so unique about them, and I just hope that their channel grows because they have a lot of great content in regards to this topic. Because this topic is, I think, is very necessary for a lot of people to listen to and to know what they could get potentially stuck into, or wrapped into. So, anyways, the reason why I'm not showing my face, those of you who have followed me, is because I guess I am being a little bit paranoid, or I guess I'm not. I guess I'm just not confident right now to show my face with this topic. Um, I'm not scared to show my face in general in terms of like other videos, but I think this topic specifically just kind of makes me feel a little uneasy just because there's a couple of things that I'm going to talk about that I felt very uncomfortable with. So, anyways, let's just get into the whole topic. So, what I want to talk about is a whole, um, multi-level marketing like schemes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to be specifically talking about Amway and Worldwide Dream Builders. And those of you that don't know what Amway is, it's a big multi-level marketing company that's been around for decades and decades. And so that's why some people will know it as something good, and some people will use it to their advantage to say that it's this best company. And because the reason they seek validation, or they use that to their advantage to validate that the fact that this company has been around for so long, it's legitimate. And I'm just going to talk about my opinions about that, and also just my experience, and how I kind of got wrapped into it. Anyways, um, I wasn't in the business, and I'm using air quotes on this business. I haven't been in the business that long as a lot of people that I've known, or like the couple that I was referring to earlier. They were in it for a year, and I'm gonna link their channel so you guys can check them out. But I haven't been that long in the business, and so, but the time frame that I was in the business said a lot, and it set the stage a lot, and the reason why I just jumped out of there as fast as I could, even though I did lose a good chunk of money. But anyways, so if those of you that already, you're here for a reason, obviously. Some of you are here because you've met an Amway recruiter, whatever, someone who started talking to you about this awesome opportunity, and you've already visited a board plan, and you discovered that this is an Amway thing, and you're seeking research, you're seeking validation, you're seeking some sort of answer. And so my story is not here to tell you to stay in the business, and my story is not here to tell you to leave the business. That's not what I'm here for. My opinions are my opinions. My story is my story. Take it however you want. There's a lot of stories out there that are very similar to mine, and some of them are just, I'm mind blown with what they went through with this business. But yeah. So, anyways, how it all started. Basically, I was at the gym with a friend of mine, and we were working out. We were in a class, and it was just good times, just working out. And someone approached me at the gym, and they started chit chatting with me, and I kind of knew this person a little bit because I always saw them at the gym, so it wasn't a surprise that this person talked to me because we've already interacted before, but not to the level that I like know them and I trust them and all that kind of stuff, or hang out with them, anything like that. It was just kind of more of like, I know that person because they do this at this time, right? So anyway, so I was at the gym, and somehow we started all talking, and this person started talking, asking me questions, and she was just like, oh, so like, what do you do, and all that kind of stuff. And all of you who have been approached by someone like this, you already know that kind of questions. And it's kind of like you feel like there's this sort of like level of interest, not romantically at all. And the reason why I say that is because, one, I am gay. um, so I have no interest in women whatsoever. But I just, what I mean is that the level of interest is like, I like to, meet new people. I like to make friends or whatever. So I just felt like, wow, like, I'm talking to a random stranger or whatever. Not necessarily a stranger, but someone that I don't know very well, and we're just getting in conversation. So it felt kind of cool, just kind of like having this interaction. And and all of a sudden, like, I was talking about like school, and I was, at that time, I was kind of debating whether I should go for my graduate degree and all that kind of stuff. And because I took a year off from undergraduate and I finished my bachelor's and all that, so I was kind of like still stuck in this limbo of like, should I get my master's? Because obviously, like, in the job field that I am, like, you earn more money if you get a master's. But as we all know, master's programs or graduate programs in general are very expensive. You have to take out a massive amount of loans, all that kind of stuff, right? So we were kind of getting into that. And my friend is a master's student, so she was kind of giving her experience and all that kind of stuff. So this person who was approaching us, she started talking about how, oh, like, basically sharing her story about like how she can like relate with the money struggle and all that kind of stuff. And kind of started throwing out the whole, well, I have these mentors who are helping me. They're helping me reach my financial goals and all that kind of stuff. And she actually didn't say like financial freedom yet, so she was just saying like how she's being mentored to better make money, or how to better spend her money, and like just, and it sounded like someone who is kind of like a life coach slash financial advisor. So for me, I immediately got engaged because I was like, you know what, I would like something like that, right? Like, especially if you're like in the millennial like era or whatever, if you're a millennial, right now our economy is so crappy right now, and so anything that we could do to like make it, we try to figure it out. And obviously with the current job that I have, I mean, it pays bills, but it wouldn't allow me to live entirely by myself. And as millennials, like, that's what we crave. We want to be able to own our own, like, I don't know, rent our own apartment, or own our own apartment, or whatever. But anyways, so I was very intrigued, and I think that's what she noticed, and I kept asking questions like, oh, or whatever. And so my friend, on the other hand, was just kind of like whatever about it. um but anyways, it went to the point that she dropped the message, and she dropped the message in regards to receiving mentorship or whatever. And so I gave out my number and everything, and that's where it kind of all started. And I give out my number for this opportunity, air quotes, um, and basically, and she told me, and it's the crazy thing is like, you get the things that they tell you and the way how they approach it, like, oh, I can't make any promises, but I'll ask my mentors and see if we can schedule time and all that kind of stuff. So you're thinking here like, oh my gosh, like I this is a serious deal, right? And like you all of a sudden I got even more intrigued because now it's a mystery. Like now I'm pursuing this mysterious like couple, and a couple who retired around my age, and I'm in my like mid 20s. So the fact that someone in their mid 20s, almost late 20s, is retiring or retired, I'm like, holy crap, I need to do the same thing, or I want to know what it is. So and at this point, obviously, you don't know what it is, right? You just know that there's a couple that retired, and that's pretty much it. Anyways, so I got a call from this person. I don't know. I think it was a text or a call. I don't remember. But anyways, it was to schedule a coffee meeting. Again, stereotypical Starbucks. And the reason why I say stereotypical is because I've been hearing that a lot of these meetings happen at like a Starbucks. So I got scheduled for a coffee meeting, and I met up with this person, and we started just chatting a little bit. And it's kind of interesting because we're chatting a little bit about like kind of like who we are, just kind of getting to know each other a little bit. And I can tell that they just want to like get into the whole like the purpose of why we're there. So anyways, finally she gets to there, and we're talking about mentorship and the opportunity, and if and I started getting questions of like if I'm process or outcome focused and all that kind of stuff. And the way like these questions were like being laid out, like it does make you reflect on the person that you are. And so I remember answering things like, well, I'm kind of a little bit of both, but I would say I'm more outcome focused. And because the way I see this about trying to distinguish whether you're like process or outcome focused, in my belief, in my opinion, I believe that we are both. We're both outcome and process focused. And looking back, and the way how they try to like mentor and shape you, it kind of rubs me the wrong way now, because it's like they purely want you to be process or sorry outcome focused, and you'll understand why later. Um, but anyways, so I kind of told her that I'm kind of both, but I'm more outcome focused. And the reason why I say that, in my opinion, I feel like we're both, because there's different situations in life that we have to evaluate our like our, I guess, like our purpose for certain situations, or how we're gonna spend our time, how are we gonna spend our money, how are we gonna just spend our life, right? So, for example, like I decided to go to college right after high school, and obviously I had the ultimate goal, um, you know, to become a nurse, right? And obviously, when you go through college and you learn the process of going through it, you realize that in order to get there, you have to take all these like bullshit classes, and like you have to take your general education classes, which means like all these bullshit classes, and all these other electives and blah blah blah, just so you can be able to apply and go to nursing school and all that kind of stuff. So that's a process, right? But your outcome is I'm going to become a nurse, or my outcome was I'm going to become a nurse and get that degree and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, I'm not a nurse. I ended up changing my major, but that's not the point. But the point is like, that's the whole example of like, that's what a lot of us would put ourselves as an outcome focused person, because even despite of all the bullshit classes you have to take, your outcome is that you will get that degree and you will get that job that you're probably shooting for. So For me, when these Amway people start talking about, like, the whole process and outcome focus and all that kind of stuff, looking back at it, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of hard to just say you're outcome focused because, you know, um, or process focused, because there are different situations that kind of make you think about what your mindset should be. And, I remember hearing the person who was recruiting me or whatever, she mentioned, like, are you willing, if you had to basically maneuver shit all day and not really see like pay or something, but you'll collect like a 250,000 check at the end of the year, would you do it? And basically that's testing whether, like, if you're processed or outcome focused. And what was really interesting about this line is that, it does, kind of intrigue you. It kind of keeps you hooked to whatever the idea or whatever is going to happen. However, you realize later that that's everyone learns that line. There's nothing special about this line, that this statement or this, analogy. Everyone fucking uses this, which I thought was really, like, interesting later on. And it's kind of robotic. Like, everyone's like starts to get shaped into this, like, person, or this, how you're supposed to go out there and into the world and get these people. And that's why now I understand why people call them bots, because they literally use the same techniques all across the board. The only difference is there will be a little bit of change of words and maybe a little bit of change of story. Essentially, it's the same freaking story, except, it's a different name, a different person. Um, so, anyways, back to the coffee meeting. So after we were kind of like discussing and everything, like, I was asked, like, if it's something that I want to like look into and kind of learn more about and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't ask a lot of questions then because I really wanted to be an open-minded person, and for the most part, I am. But I really just wanted to, kind of like take it all in first. And to be honest, I was kind of waiting for something sketchy to happen, or like something like a buzzword, or like a company name to be dropped so I can just like look it up or something. But it wasn't happening. And I think looking back, that was actually, I was, I'm here sitting like waiting for something shady or sketchy to happen for me to just be like, okay, like, this is not cool or like legitimate, I gotta walk out. When in reality, I was already trapped in the sketchiness, because the fact that they didn't want to tell me anything, the fact that they didn't want to drop what company it was, like the name, like nothing. It was just this like luring process of like just kind of like, you know, creating this mystery and like putting all these like, the best way I can describe it is just luring you in um for this. Like, that's already very shady in my opinion, like looking back. So those of you who are in this process, or I don't know, or if you know of someone that is constantly going to these coffee meetings and they're telling you, you know what, I met this person that, they're teaching me, or they're telling me about like these millionaire couples or whatever, you know, refer them to the videos, to the channel that I'm talking to you about, refer them to my story so far, because it's the same thing. There's nothing unique for every person. And the thing is that they make you feel like it's a unique opportunity, that you're the person for this, opportunity, and it's really not. It's not a unique opportunity for people. It's just their tactic to get you in. But anyways, um, after we exchanged a couple, like I did ask a couple questions, like about like, I guess, what how they're feeling about it or what they're going through it, but still they kind of redirected back to me. And anyways, but I didn't ask questions because I was waiting for something weird and sketchy. But anyways, I was, in order for me to make it to the next meeting, in the process, I was given a book, and it's the 21st. It's the Business of the 21st Century book. It's by Robert Kiyosaki. I don't remember. I have it somewhere, but anyways. I was told that I had to read this like 100-page book. I think it's like 120 pages, and I had to read it in order, and I have to have finished it. Had finished. Oh, sorry, I'm like can't even talk right now. I was supposed to finish that book by the next time we met. So I think they gave me like 4 to 5 days to finish it, and by the next time I met, like I'm supposed to like finish it and have it read. So I did. I think I finished it within like 2 nights or so. About the book, it was kind of I kind of liked some of the concepts that Robert was talking about, but at the same time, like again, like you're reading this book and you still don't have any idea what you're getting yourself into. And I don't I for the most part, like even though I was kind of understanding it, but then because the book didn't exactly say what it was that made him super rich or whatever, I still didn't understand what steps I had to take in order to get there to be wealthy or whatever. But what I did learn was about the quadrants, which they use a lot, the Worldwide Dream Builders and Amway. Well, I should say Worldwide Dream Builders, um, which I'll get into it in another. Maybe I'll get into in this video or the next video. I think I'll do it in the next video. I'll talk about Worldwide Dream Builders. But anyways, so you learn about the quadrants, which is a huge deal for them at first because they kind of set the stage for you in terms of the knowledge of like how most businesses or how like finances like kind of work. So you learn about the four quadrants, which are you have the E quadrant, which means for employee, like you're an employee. Then you have your S quadrant. Was it S quadrant? Yeah, which is like small business. So people who like own small businesses or like startup businesses, whatever that entails. And then you have your I quadrant, which is your investor. Your the investor quadrant, which those who invest in like real estate and just like stocks, I think that kind of stuff. And then you have your B quadrant, which is like business owner, which he talks about how you own your own business and like it's like it kind of goes into like this whole like you're building an asset and all that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna get too much into details because at this point you already got told and taught this. um but anyways, at first you're reading it and you're like, okay, you kind of see the distinguished, I guess quadrants, and that's where I believe the brainwash starts to happen because for the most part, all of us, we're in the E quadrant, right? Like we're all employees of an employer or a company and, all that kind of stuff. So, you kind of start being like, oh, like, this is right. Like, I'm in this broken system. So then you get more intrigued. And then, so when I showed up for the next meeting, I reflected on it. I told her what I thought about it, and I was more intrigued and more excited about what this whole opportunity is. And we kind of went over the quadrants again, and blah blah blah. It was another Starbucks meeting, and then she told me, she was like, you know what, next week, I don't know if it was that same week or something or the following week, but she told me, she's like, hey, there's gonna be like a business meeting, like a board plan meeting where that kind of goes, it talks about like the business and everything. So I was like, oh cool, like I'm gonna learn about the business. Finally, I got to this point. But what's interesting about this is that she said, I'm going to go ahead and call my mentors and let them know that you're interested, that, you read the book and everything. And I'm going to tell our coach, I'm going to also ask my coach if there's space for you to join this meeting. Which is really interesting because they, at that point, they were making it seem like I need to earn that spot for this business meeting and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, sure, like, just let me know. And she told me, you have to dress like business attire, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, great. The reason why I laugh because looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I still did not see the red flags or whatever. But I remember like getting when once the meeting ended and I got the okay that I have a spot earned in this business meeting. I remember going when it was like closer to the meeting day. I remember going through my closet because I haven't worn business attire in a while, like a full on like suit and tie. I do work in an environment that I do have to wear kind of business attire, but it's more like business casual. Um, and obviously, like, yeah, I have, suits and stuff, especially when I go to interviews and stuff like that. But it's been a while since I've done an interview. So, I hate to say it, but I gained some weight. So, I wasn't really fitting comfortably or, in some of my suits and stuff. So, me being me, I want to say dumbass basically, and because I really wanted to make a great impression to these mentors or coaches because I still didn't know what it was and it sounded very serious and I just want to make a good impression and I thought I'm gonna go to this like expo or conference. I don't know. I seriously at this point I didn't even know what I was going, where I was going, what I was getting into, and I just imagined it as like I'm going to this business meeting where there's going to be a lot of business people and I'm going to be talking to rich people, so I might as well like have a good impression. um and I'm used to like meetings like that, and the field of my work, like I go to different like meetings and I go to and have had meetings with like directors and CEOs of different like organizations and things like that. So you know I'm not like I mean it's always a little intimidating, right? But I mean I'm very used to like going in there and being professional. That's what I'm trying to say. So I didn't know, and all I know is that I got the message of this is where it's gonna be at. I got sent the address and everything. But anyways, I went. I bought a whole new suit. I bought a whole new dress shirt, everything. I bought a whole new outfit just for this freaking business meeting. So I go there, it's time to go to this business meeting. I get all dolled up, I get all like, and I get there and it's like 40 minutes away from where I live, but I'm used to the commute. I live, in Southern California, so all of you Southern Californians, you all kind of know that to get around, you kind of commute just everywhere. So, anyways, I was going there, and oh, I forgot to mention the reason. I remember this meeting being kind of like hyped up and like in terms of like, oh, you earned your spot and you earned this and blah blah blah, and because they were saying that this coach was traveling like 3 hours into my city. Like they were coming from like 3 hours away, like in another city, just to show the plan. So they're saying like this is a huge deal, basically. So, anyways, I am driving to this place. I end up reaching the location of this like meeting, and all of a sudden, as I'm driving through, I'm like, okay, all of a sudden I'm in this random city, well, not random city, but like I'm in this random like neighborhood, and I'm just like, why is like, where is this location? Where is this building? And stupid me, I should have Googled where this address was. I should have Google mapped it. I don't know. I didn't, right? But all of a sudden I end up like in front of this house. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I get there, I park, and then I text, like the person who got me started, and I was just like, hey, like, I think I'm here. I'm in a random house. Am I in the right location? And she immediately responded like, yeah, I'm about to arrive, and yes, it is a random, it is a house or whatever. So I was like, okay, weird, but okay. And then I started seeing some people, with like suits, like walking up to this house. I'm like, okay, then I am in this right location, and finally, I met up um, with the person who was getting me into this, and we walked up into the house, and I started seeing a lot of people in there. It was a We were in the living room, and all of a sudden, they started hyping up, this coach that was going to be here and show the plan. So all of a sudden, like, this person comes in and she starts talking about the business, and the board plan starts, and you all know, if you already been to the board plan, they start going through their story and how like pretty much saying how jobs suck and how like our system with like jobs and stuff is broken and like it shouldn't be this way and blah 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 and like corporate America sucks and all the whole spiel. And then finally they get into the whole like talking about, oh, this isn't like a pyramid scheme and blah blah blah, and they're explaining numbers and blah blah blah, and I'm just kind of like, okay, like this is interesting, but I'm like, what is this? I'm still not getting it. And I can honestly say that I was already I pretty much started buying into it. Like I'm like, okay, this is true, like our system is broken, like this has to be legit and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, finally like the business, like they after like they were kind of explaining the numbers and the whole concept of like like you buy stuff from your online store, and basically they're teaching how you exchange all the stuff that you already buy at a grocery store, but you just buy it from your own like website. But in order for it to be legal, you have to just get like 50 PV from like customer volume, which that equals to like $150. So you have to find like people to buy from your online store, and spend $150 for you to be like legal and whatever. So it sounds super easy, but the majority of the PV comes from you. That's what I learned, is that you spend most of your PV like yourself. So I think they were teaching that you have to do like to start it's like 100 PV, which it equates to like $300, I believe, something like that, in addition to the 50. So it's like 150 PV, which that equates to like $400 or something like that. It's something crazy. And anyways, so they start explaining that, and finally the coach dropped the the company, and it was Amway. And she started talking about, but the way how they like sneak it in there is, it's pretty sneaky. Like they just kind of drop it in there, and like they think of it as this like very casual thing, like, and they explain it very casual. Like they don't really get into the whole like Amway per se. Like they just say, oh, my distributors is Amway, and they kind of leave it at that. And the way that because immediately, since from, I never really knew what Amway was at that time. I never heard of it, me being a millennial. um and of course this company was around like in the 90s or something, so I didn't know. And but I wrote it down because I was like, okay, finally there was a name drop or company drop, whatever, so I'm gonna go look it up. But I remember the coach saying like, that, oh, this business has been around for like 60 plus years or whatever, and throwing this whole like, now they're trying to brainwash you. And that's when the brainwash starts also, because they're saying how um they're basically trying to shift you away from thinking Amway Scamway, and they're saying like, oh, Amway is a good company and stuff. Like I rather listen to these successful people who made it with the business, rather than someone on Reddit explaining that it's a scam or whatever. And I'm kind of like, okay. And so they kind of like start throwing that out because they want you to keep buying into it. Anyways, after the board plan ended, as you all know and who've gone through this process, or if you know, you might have already completed your first board plan, they gave me this black box, and it has like a diamond on it. And I was advised that I was to go through the box and to learn about like the company and like Worldwide Dream Builders, because they also threw out Worldwide Dream Builders in there. And they talk more about Worldwide Dream Builders than they did about Amway, because, and looking back at it now, is because no, they shift you from, okay, this is what you're gonna, this is the company that you're gonna work with, I should say work for. But they try to shift your to Worldwide Dream Builders to basically already brainwash you into the whole um like Worldwide Dream Builders organization, and how it's gonna basically help you get rich through the mentorship and all that kind of stuff. And so, anyways, that's what the box was about. It talks, it has books about Amway. It has things about worldwide dream builders and what they are and what they do. And basically, it's like this whole like starter thing of like how this is gonna make you be successful and financially free. So I took this home and I started listening to the audios and whatever. And nowadays, like we don't really use CDs, so the person who brought me through this process, like she sent me like the digital like audios, basically the audios that were in the CD or are in the CD is in the box. So I started listening to them, and I kid you not, like I did like hearing those stories. Like they are, when you're going through this and you're vulnerable in your situation in life and stuff like that, it sounds amazing. You start buying into it, you feel motivated. I'm not gonna say that I didn't buy into it. I did, right? And I remember the story that I really liked the most at that time was, oh gosh, what's that diamond couple's name? I don't know their first names very well, I think, but I know their last names. They're the Eatons. So I really liked their story. It really appealed to me and everything. And so I really liked it. And I thought that story was great. So I bought into it even more. And so once I finished with the box and everything, I scheduled another meeting. Now it was with two of them because the person who was taking me through the process still wasn't fully like trained, I guess you can say, because they have only been a couple months into it. And so they obviously brought someone else, uh, the person who brought her into it, to kind of like start, mediating the meetings and kind of taking over that process to, and basically what it is they're kind of testing, are you ready to take the next step, which is the launching part, to launch your business. And so I had another meeting and we kind of got through the logistics of it and all that kind of stuff. And then even with all of that explaining and stuff, I still agreed to continue the process, which I feel so stupid now. But so we did that other meeting, and then we talked about like launching. But at this, and again, this was another Starbucks meeting. So the this meeting in particular, I think looking back, it's the most important meeting, I would say, that I should have seen the red flags. Because at this meeting, this was the meeting like after the you finish looking into the box and you learned about it, and you're basically meeting again to return the box and to talk about it. This meeting is what's going to basically determine whether you're going to continue or not. And that's the decision that you make for yourself, because if you really are, into it and you really believe in that system and you're very excited and you really want to do it, that meeting after you're returning that box, that's where it's going to decide whether you really want this opportunity or not. And that's the time where everyone has, or that meeting is like the opportune time to decide whether you're going to continue or not. And I would say that if you're going through this process, I don't even know what to tell you. Like I said, I didn't want to advise whether you should do it or not. But if you're feeling like sketchy about it, this is a time to walk away, because once you continue that, it's just gonna snowball from there, because they're gonna explain to you what you need to do in order to kind of launch into business. And also they're gonna go behind and talk to their uplines and be like, hey, like this guy's ready, or we're gonna offer it, or should we offer it the opportunity. And that's how it all starts. So but anyways, so stupid me, I decided to continue with the process and everything. But I don't know, what's interesting, like looking back at it, like I don't know, I was very hopeful about this opportunity, but at the same time, like something was telling me like, there's just something that's not clicking. Like there's something that I still don't understand. And the thing is that they don't they give you things to read and to like analyze and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like the worldwide dream builders part, is it's like very weird because even the forms that they hand you, it looks like people just like typed it up and just gave it to you. That's how it looks like. And you know, I don't know. And I remember doing like online research on all this stuff, and it was really hard to find negative things about both companies like Amway and Worldwide Dream Builders. And now when I now that I've got out of the business and did more research, I was able to dig up more things. And the reasons why it's hard to find things is because everyone's advised to stay away from social media, to not be posting to social media. And I get it now because the tactic is that they don't want to put those things out there very much because they don't want to distract people from leaving the business or whatever. Anyways, so so finally, I agreed to continue, and then they left it at, we're gonna talk to our mentors, and we'll see if we can offer you the partnership or whatever. So, anyways, finally the day comes, and they're like, okay, like we're gonna offer you they accepted me they decided to extend the partnership or whatever. And so I know it was exciting, but at the same time I was like, dang, like what am I getting myself into? And it was kind of scary because I still didn't really understand everything, but which is just a red flag. And I think a lot of people that go through this process don't fully understand everything, and I think it's set up that way so you kind of understand it, but you're hopeful, and then you're gonna launch into business and still not know what the fuck you're doing. And but yeah, that's what happens. And I think everybody that I've so far listened to has said the same thing. And so anyways, they finally offered me the opportunity, the partnership. And then they're like, okay, um when can we launch you into business? And I think I had another meeting about that in terms of like launching into business. But I remember at that time they told me they were at that time I remember I was kind of tight on money that month specifically. And they told me that that if I was able to like launch and within that time frame that we were meeting. And I think I said that I couldn't yet because I was kind of stuck on some finances, and I wanted to to get paid first from my job in order to afford the launch. And in between that, they told me that, oh, FED was around the corner, and this was at the FED in Las Vegas. And they were telling me that to look into it. They would be free for me for the first time just because I'm new to the business. So they're gonna give me like a free, basically like a freebie at that time. So I was like, cool. And I guess those tickets cost like, I forgot how much they cost, but I want to say, it was like 100. I could be wrong, but I think it was like $150 or something for FED, and it's for 3 days, which is FED stands for Freedom Enterprise Day, I think, or Free Enterprise Day. But I told them that I couldn't go because I had to work that weekend. And and I remember when I said that, their composure or like just changed because once I said that, they were like, okay, well, just to let you know that if you don't go to FED, you're going to be set back 6 months. So you're going to lose on the great opportunity and training tools to help you. And basically, they're saying that the only way to fast track this business is if you go to FED. And it made me like, oh, like it made me kind of freak out a little bit. I'm like, oh shit, like I gotta go to this thing. But I really couldn't because at that time, like I couldn't get that thing. I couldn't get my shift covered or whatever. I couldn't get that Saturday or whatever covered. And so knowing that it's 3 days, meaning like I think it was like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm like, I can't. So I told them, I'll try to do my best and everything, but there was no way I could have gone to that. And I didn't go to FED. But I remember they told me that, okay, and the fact, and I remember I was already getting like coached into it, and they're saying like, you got to start fighting the resistance. You're gonna face a lot of resistance in life, and blah blah blah. And when you're going through these meetings, like you're gonna hear that a lot. That there's a lot. They're gonna throw this at you of there's gonna be a lot of resistance that is gonna try to keep you distracted from the business, or there's gonna keep you um, either like away from the business, or stopping you from building your business, all that kind of stuff. And you know, it sounds very legitimate. It sounds very like kind of scary. The fact that you're trying to build something for yourself, and but you know, but that's the way that they try to like lure you in and guilt you into it. And anyways, so I didn't go, and I told them I couldn't launch during that time, which again, that kind of shifted their composure as well, or their attitude towards me, because they were like, okay, and immediately they were like, well, when can you? We need to get a date set. And I was like, okay, and I was kind of thinking about like when can I launch into business, but I remember them telling me, I didn't even like it wasn't even up to me now that I think about it. I think they just said, how about, this month on the 1st or whatever. I was like, okay, sure. And I just kind of went with that. But at that time, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I'm like, okay, if I'm launching my own business, it should be up to me when I could launch this business, right? Um, so I didn't understand why they were so like pushy about setting a date for this. Anyways, so finally, I'm kind of going fast through this process, but then it came to the launching day, and it was weird, because I went to go launch my business and whatever, and obviously I already got told how much I was going to spend. And for those of you who don't know how much money goes into this, so you have to pay for your Amway subscription, which I believe was like around $75. You also have to um, sign up for Worldwide Dream Builders, which is like, oh man, I forgot. I think it was like $45 or so. But you also have to buy their Communicate system, which is their voicemail system, as this app that you can use on your phone, that you just send voicemails or voice messages to your uplines. And that was like $36 a month. And I think you have to pay an addition of like $45 or $25 or something to get like your standing order stuff, like your basically your kit, your black box to basically give out to people who you bring in through the process. So essentially, like I think it added up close to like $400, if not almost $500, for the launching, and it was just phase one. And I remember like sitting there like, fuck, like, oh, this is a lot of money, but you're being taught that this is investment. This is going into your business. And looking back now, it's kind of a little bit contradicting in my point when we get taught about the quadrants, because I don't know, like they were saying how investing like is not the greatest because you need a lot of money to invest. But if you really think about it, they recruit a lot of the vulnerable people, and we all know that a lot of vulnerable people, they're not in the best economic situation. So a lot of people don't have a lot of money to just drop on launching a business. And people, like, you will hear, like, once you're in the Communicate system and you start hearing like stories, people like will be sharing stories of how like before they launched into business, they started already selling shit before they even launch into business, just so they can launch into business. And at first it's like, wow, like these, it sounds like these great dedicated people. But looking back, I'm like, damn, like that's hard. That's just, I don't know. That, to me, that's unbelievable. Like I didn't see myself doing that. And I don't think I would have been able to do that. Like if I didn't have that money at that time to launch, like it wasn't gonna happen. But I still got talked into it, and I did it. So I launched into business and everything. And I remember they told me about like the dittos and everything, how I had to go into my Amway store and like start building my ditto. And this was already phase two. And this was like so funny, not funny, but like this was like another red flag, because once I was getting like the ditto, I remember I was sitting there and I was like, okay, like, and I was kind of going through the products, and they were kind of like looking at me like, dude, like just select shit basically. And I was like, and I told him, oh, sorry, it's just I'm looking through the stuff that I would want to like use or like consume. And literally, they told me, oh, don't worry about that. It's like, just get stuff even if you don't think you're going to use, but you may need later. Red flag, people, because basically all they're telling you, in other words, is we just need you to get stuff with the highest PV because we need that PV volume. And I didn't understand that. So I was like, okay. So I grabbed a bunch of shit that I technically didn't need, um, but I tried my best to just stick to the stuff that I would use or whatever or consume. But anyways, so I got all these like $300 worth of products, my Ditto ready, and that was already like hardcore. Like that was already hard on its own because you know I already like spent a lot of money to launch into business, and I think just creating my Ditto and everything. I honestly I think I spent probably like close to $1,000 just to start this whole business, and I could be exaggerating, but that's a lot of money, guys. Like that is a lot of money just to start something. And I understand like in most businesses like you have to invest money, but I don't know, like if you're supposed to be like the thing is like if you're going to be working for a company that's already set in stone for you and that you're just going to be like selling their products or consuming their products, like the least it can do is cut off some of that money. And that's, to me, that's crazy that they go to this extreme for you to spend all this money. And I don't know, but anyways, so I got launched into business, and I created my Ditto and everything. And then finally, like, I go to my next board plan, which my next board plan um, was, I was already an IBO. So, and I didn't have anyone recruited yet, or I wasn't taking anyone through the process yet, but I was told that I had to go through this process. So I, I still had to continue going to the meetings. The next thing I started noticing was the fact that it was the same story again and the same meeting, but I was still, at that time, I didn't know it was going to be similar, but at that time I kind of was brainwashed and I was like, okay, like, no, like this is good because I'm here, I'm relearning everything. And the stuff that I didn't really get clarity on, I'm getting clarity now. But that's basically what it was. And I went through that, I went through the next board plan and things like that. And yeah, um, so I'm gonna kind of just leave it there with that kind of part of the worldwide dream builders and all that kind of stuff. And I try not to get too much into my feelings about it yet because I want to leave it for the next video and all that kind of stuff. But so that was pretty much like how I got dragged into this. And all I can say is it was an eye-opening experience, but at the same time it kind of it didn't, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm going to get into that into the next video. But if you like this video and if you want to know more, please subscribe, please like. I will link the other videos that I was mentioning, the other channels. I think they're great to check out and all that kind of stuff. And all I can say for this video is that if you know someone that's going through the process, um, the best you can do about the best thing you can do for them with this video is to let them know that they're not a unique they're not unique, that they're not this special person that's being handheld through this process for financial freedom. It's the same thing. Everyone goes through the same, you know, tactic. They go through the same process. And um, as you can already tell, like this video doesn't sound very positive. It sounds very like, kind of, I don't know, I guess dreadful. um, and it was, in my opinion, this whole process was very dreadful. This process took weeks. I would say, I think almost a month or so, and it was all a luring tactic. It was just getting pulled in, stringing along, and just like getting more things out of you, and to leave you with this hope. Um, and so obviously, like, I left the business for a reason, and for a couple of reasons, but it didn't leave a good positive note or end note for me. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video. But in the next video, I'm going to talk about more about the board plans that I attended. And also, I'm going to talk about my first like regional function, um, which that was when it was like, shit, like, what did I get myself into? So look forward to that video, and or the audio, whatever. And yeah, so but in the meantime, by the time I post the next video, if you have any questions about the business or Worldwide Dream Builders or anything like that, feel free to comment. Feel free to send me, like, yeah, just post your comments or whatever. Send me questions that I could potentially answer in the next video. But I think a lot of your questions will be answered in the other people's videos, but feel free to ask me. Anyways, have a good rest of your day or evening or whatever time you're watching this video. And if you're in the business and you come across this and you want to hate on it, go ahead. I really don't care. I will not delete your comment because I want, I just I don't care. You have your own opinion as well, but I will do my best to educate those people who are going through the process and have doubts, and those who, want to help others, get out of this business, because this business is not what it was played out to be. And I want to raise awareness just like everyone else is doing it. And I feel like the more people share their stories and the reasons why this was not a good opportunity, the more we are able to educate others and help them, to be honest, because there's a lot of horror stories out there. And I was already reaching that point where I wasn't sure what was going to happen with my with my money, because it was such a pain in the ass. So anyways, I'm just gonna leave it at that, and I will continue this series of stories in the next video. In the next video, I'm gonna talk about what I mentioned about my first regional function, and yeah, look into that. And so yeah, have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. Bye.